Hello, welcome to this brush sauce contest, our challenge. I'm back here with Adam Duff,
Greetings.
and this is our second take on this actually. So pardon us if we got to bullet point kind of through these because we've talked in great length about all these with a great commentary, unfortunately. But yeah, we'd like to give both of our feedback again on all these so everyone can enjoy. Because you put the time in, we're gonna put the time in.
Absolutely. We'll do it better this time.
We'll do it better.
This is our second shot, so we'll do an even better job this time.
Antoine's up. Let's go. We're on a timer.
Antoine Dupont. All right, so let's
see. I believe we both agreed this is awesome, and you do great lighting and background and attention to detail. But what did you say? We talked about the posing.
Yeah. We talked about the posing, and I remember one of the things I mentioned was, well, I won't speak in the past tense. I guess I'll speak in present tense, you know. But one of the things we were both looking at was the foot hitting the ground. That's one thing. Just that, remember, if you're gonna have feet walking, if it's kind of floating above the ground like this, it can make it look a little flimsy. You want to feel that flat line of the foot pressing down on the ground. And it was a little unclear, although Tyler helped clarify.
I came up with a good narrative.
Yeah, well, basically, like, she's in a defensive pose. She's scared, right? And you have these other thugs that are coming in with their blades, which is definitely imposing. But this guy's got his blade down, which suggests like it's okay, don't be afraid, type of thing. We didn't get that at first, but then we started to catch on to it.
Maybe he's trying to trick her. You know, hey, I'm not such a bad guy, you know.
And he's got a real sleazeball voice. Hey, honey, don't worry.
You know, don't mind the sword I'm kind of hiding down here, but
yeah,
I'm not. Yeah, and you got a little bit of a tangent with the way that heel clicks.
Yeah.
On the bottom. Either way, redo his legs, make him feel a little more natural. Yeah. And my second suggestion was blow up this painting a bit. You know, sectionize up, get that girl in there, make her the. Let's see the real fear in her eyes. It's way better, I had mentioned, than your previous post to this. It's already, like, a lot better, but get back in there. And you'll see when we talk about some of these other ones that the facial expression and the intensity that we're after.
Yeah, fear, come up close. You know, come up close. If you remember, one of the things that you very commonly see is you put acting in a character that's way off in the distance, and if she's too far away, we can't get that acting. It's too small on the screen. So try to bring all of that foreground stuff a little bit more foreground so you can get in on her face and see a little bit more of what's going on. Absolutely.
But awesome job, dude.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So, let me see. Numero dos.
Well, I remember this one.
Yes. Yes! We both love it. And when I think I can speak for both of us because I know how we both feel about it. The most expressive painting we've seen to date, that look of terror on her face is absolutely that.
See that expression? Make sure, Antoine, yours is that clear. Like, we know what this girl is feeling.
Yeah, she's absolutely terrifying. But the snake.
To contrast that, the snake's a bit of a goober.
We're gonna eat your legs, you know.
Hello,
He's very tame. So if she's petrified, he's got to be coming right in on her with a very malevolent face, right?
Still like the way his eyes are glowing and how kind of neutral the texture is of the skin, the way you did the snake. You know, you want to look up some artists like Dave Raposa, Black Witch Project, and Mache Kusiara has another value sketch where the snake just looks absolutely menacing. You know, you can see that how the light refracts on the scales, and you know the highlights on it, the dripping, the venom, the tongue coming out, the fangs. Fangs are the biggest part of a snake. Make that thing look scary, because right now, with the glowing eyes and the way he's just poking out of the shot, hello, I'm here for a snack, you know, like...
Hey, what's up?
He's just like Mr. Big Snake, the friendly guy. So just fix that. The rest of it's like really kind of cool.
Yeah, you got acting? Yeah. Act back and forth, right? To get real character, you have two characters acting against each other. She's terrified, he's menacing, right? Or something else. But they both have to have a unique personality and a unique role to play, right?
Otherwise, rip and tatter up that dress a bit. Make her feel like she was in some kind of struggle to get tied up like that, because she probably didn't go willingly unless she was like abducted in the night. You know, maybe add a little bit of blood or dirt and just rip it. Just, you know, it adds to the story.
Yeah,
we see where she's been.
She's gently taken from her evening dinner, you know, and carefully tied up. Oh, I hope this doesn't hurt, dear. You know, she's a little too clean. She needs to be a little roughed up. You know.
Yeah, we got the Bachelorette and Slippery Sam the snake.
Awesome.
But cool though. Really good job though.
Yeah. We really love it. Really, that expressiveness really kicks ass. All right, we have
One of two.
Jessica Lee.
We
One
both.
of two. Yes, let's actually get them both on screen here. All right, so this is the first Jessica piece.
Yeah, we like both these a lot actually. And
which is the second one?
It's right there. It's the shark to your left. No, it's hidden right behind it right now.
Oh yes, this one over here. Awesome. Yes.
Next time, you probably didn't know, but try to keep it to 1. But you put the time into 2, so at least mention them.
Yeah, absolutely. But we can critique them both, and the qualities there in both of them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
they're very consistent. We both definitely like the one on the left a lot more.
Yeah,
it's more adventurous and a little more confidence. Whereas the right plays a bit more safe.
It's playing it safe in the colors and composition feel a bit muted, like how she's kind of tangented a bit with the eel behind her. The colors feel a little bit kind of muted and desaturated a little bit, and a bit flat. Like if we look at the color here in her skin, she's a bit of a mermaid. Like she's got the scales and stuff like that. The skin tones feels a little bit too solid tone, where you want to bring in some warm tones, cool tones, make it feel a bit more like flesh. Whereas on the one on the left is a very solid, clean design. It really pops. It's a very strong. Look at this.
Get into the skin tones though of that young girl is what you want to plush to make it feel like she's very lively. Since this could be some kind of ethereal kind of spook character or spirit. We don't know what this is, and that's kind of the beauty of it too. But it's very creepy, eerie, and well designed.
Yeah.
But we need the girl to the human girl. It looks like to contrast that even more so by injecting her skin tones with life.
Yeah, a little bit more warmth in there, and it'll balance everything because everything's very neutral, which harmonizes nicely.
Yep.
But a little bit of warmth to help pop it, right? But design-wise, haha.
Awesome job though overall.
Wow.
We really like it.
Yeah, totally awesome. All right, so let's put this back here. Yeah, I'm getting good at this, Tyler.
We're getting good at this the second time around.
All right, so next on our list is Luang Kayon.
And I really like this guy's expression. You capture the ferocity and intensity in his eyes and his face. Again, Antoine, this is what we need in yours. Even that girl's face. She's in the background, which we'll talk about in a minute, but we can see kind of how worried she looks there. So much more than up there.
Yeah.
Even at that simplistic level, though, that's that read we want to get.
Yeah, and if you compare the two, body language-wise, I feel that Antoine has a much more damsel in distress type of feel to it. It really hits the narrative. Mm-hmm. But the expressiveness, if you add the expressiveness, you're good to go. You just want to get that facial expression in there.
You want to talk about the tangents and stuff we ran into with the composition?
Yes. Well, here, if you look at this, she's a main actor, right? It's about her, and he's kind of a protector. You can see that he's positioned in front of her, and he's protecting her. But you've completely hidden her behind his hammer, right? So you probably want to create a composition where she'd be more on the open, bring maybe his arm down or place him a little bit further down. Do something so that she's framed and you're not putting the damsel here and then covering it with a big hammer, right? Because it's taking away from that whole storyline. Go ahead.
The handle also looks a little short for the size of the head. This is just a one. You might want to wield that with 2 if he ever gets an opportunity. I'd extend that again a little longer. That's the design thing. But we like the aesthetics of this, the very kind of classical fantasy feeling that this has. And you have great subtle color variety, but at the same time, the characters are so well thought out and stuff. It looks like some of that background is a mere afterthought. And you want that one-to-one consistent quality throughout your entire image.
Right.
And we mentioned this throughout many of these pieces, you will see. And when we talk about this, is just the quality that standard fantasy illustration publishers have today, like Fantasy Flight, which Adam's working for right now, doing some awesome Game of Thrones art. Paizo Publishing.
And started with Lord of the Rings.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Like Paizo Publishing and Wizards of the Coast Magic series. These are just like the standards that will kind of match up some of these two in terms of quality and detail.
It's just what's expected. You got to clean that kind of stuff up. But one of the things that both Tyler and I agree on in this is it's gritty, it's dirty, it's got texture. It's this guy rolls around in the dirt. He's a warrior,
And we love it.
You can feel that, and it's not clean and pristine, nice soft shapes. No, this guy's there's grit.
He's not coming from dinner.
No. No dinner dresses.
Not a dinner, like a dinner party with you use dainty fingers and.
Yeah, that's the texture and the color. The way you're loose with that, and it's really gives you a lot of energy.
Just get that consistency that you have on the guy throughout the background and the girl, and address the composition issues, and you'll be good to go. It's fantastic, great job.
Beautiful.
Notes.
All right, we've got yes.
This one's really cool, as always.
Jithin Rhoda, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Jithin Rhoda. Yeah.
There
we go. Yeah.
Just to quickly rattle things off, this is an awesome composition, great design, but we have too much red going on. Even if this is fire, really red-orange, that intensity in terms of color weight is just on a scale of like 10, whereas even these subtle little blues and neutrals, which you need more of, is like way down here, and we need to just balance that and bring it down.
Yeah.
So, we want to focus that composition on, make what's red, in this area, that key area, the sacrificial altar, keep that red so we can see this blood that we just now notice once we zoom in, because everything else is red around it. And I believe, Adam, you recommended and I agree, cool off the background behind the characters, down where those stairs are. The same kind of cool treatment with neutrals around the feet of the character. This is exactly what the background needs, and even that light should wrap around this pillar a little bit more subtly.
Yeah.
And it'll just frame all the heat and intensity within that area. And
that blood will be blood. That's going to be the kicker of this piece.
And
right?
the last thing I suggested was to detail that character, that villain, up just a little bit more. He's a little bit too simple compared to that gorgeous looking altar and crazy ass face hugging slug thing right there.
Yeah.
And I believe you mentioned something about the girl, Adam.
Yeah, that's right. One of the things you got to be careful with, if you're going to be doing foreshortening, okay, this is the pose she's in. I actually, when I first looked at it, first glance, it looked like her arm was lobbed off, right? Because basically you did this, you had it straight facing the camera. If you're actually looking at the camera, what you'd want to do is bring it out a little bit so that you can get the extension from shoulder out. You don't want to do this because that's an awkward kind of pose, right? Bring it out a little bit. Open up that pose. Play with the silhouette a little bit more, for sure.
But again, you did another awesome job.
Detail junkie, this guy. Seriously. Absolutely gorgeous.
He does have the attention to detail.
Yeah, and the patience, I might add. Yeah. And we have Matusz.
This one's cool.
Wisniewski.
What's awesome about this topic is you can take it in a fantasy or sci-fi genres. And I'll try to keep finding topics where we can generate a lot of interest that way.
Yeah.
And I believe the first thing we mentioned about this is the subtlety of this creature up top. And in a normal situation, that contrast of the light and the dark on him is really good, but we want to make, in this situation, I feel it'd be better if it was more subtle. Like you could see, he has that awesome light, right? And it would just, if you study insects in different lighting situations, or watch the movie Ant-Man, it's amazing. You could see all those specular highlights and the grossness of their, I don't know, they don't have skin, but the texture of an insect. You could pull that out there and make it more subtle. The little drips and all kind of that little detail you have in the midground.
Yeah, absolutely. And detail-wise, like when it comes to texture and detail, you've got a very recognizable style for that. It's lovely. The matte kind of overgrowth moss fungus thing with this goopy lava type of, it's just, you can feel the richness and the viscosity of that kind of stuff. Just play with that. Add more of that into it.
What about the expression of the damsel?
Good point. Yeah. Again,
a little more clarity, right? Is she passed out, head down, or frightened, like she can't move in a stasis?
That's the thing. Yeah, we're looking at you can put 1,000 different things. If there's one human and we can see one face, that's the first place we're going to look because we identify with something in the scene. And for her, she's kind of doing this. She's calm. She's doing a little. I always look this pretty when I'm sleeping face, right? Where in fact, if she's either passed out, slumped, or terrified or looking over her shoulder, something's going on.
Yeah, like
have some acting in there, right?
And then I mentioned we should just bring that level of detail to the character. The yellow suit is just, it looks a little amateurish in execution. Like, there's just not that level of sophistication that you brought into other areas in that. Like, we want to see, like, the rips, the folds. Watch E.T., any hazmat suit type thing. You can get lots of little detail in there while keeping that kind of iconic yellow feel to it. Just bring a little bit, do a little more research and reference, and it'll go a long way.
Yeah, and it unflattens the form too. You'll start to be able to see forms around his butt and his legs and creases and stuff like that. So it'll be able to bring out the geometry as well and doesn't two-dimensionalize it, right?
But awesome job.
Yeah, as always, man. The amount of work that these guys are putting into this.
Yeah, you can really see the people that do participate month to month because they're growing exponentially.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Kevin.
Wessink.
We both thought this was really cinematic and awesome.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of play with the narrative with it a little bit, though, in terms of the closeness of the characters we get in every other piece. I mean, if characters aren't your vibe and you just wanted to enter, that's cool. I get that. I can relate. But we don't know what that character is exactly trying to do because it's so small.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we look here, we have to zoom all the way in, and
it's very heroic almost.
The pose feels very hand up like this is very Titanic, like I'm free, yay! She's like she looks like a daredevil sailor, you know. She's like riding the waves and she doesn't give a shit. We don't feel distress. Distress might be reaching out or something, knock her off balance, have her hanging on for dear life. This doesn't feel that. This feels more like she's just she's being risky. She's taking chances, you know, and that kind of thing.
At the same time, though, we'll critique her for what it is and mention a few compositional things. We have a lot. This whole that's exactly what fixed that, because this whole left upper quadrant, nothing just happening at all.
It's not contributing anything to the narrative. It's just extra space, right? And by doing this, you're actually, if you're thinking about it technically, it's actually rule of thirding this boat a little bit more, which brings it into the piece a little bit more, and furthermore draws your attention to the character and the acting.
And you could even lose like a half inch off the top too.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, it just saying more with less is always a good way to think about making a statement.
Look at how because you actually have the rule of thirds here with the crop tool, right? But look at how this almost perfectly lines up with
much more powerful of a composition.
Just by bringing it in.
Awesome wave work, awesome atmosphere though.
Water too is hella challenging to paint.
And he did it right.
Knocked it out of the park. Yes. And the beautiful sense of sweeping movements through the composition and here too, the flare that she's shooting off, right? It's just fantastic. It's really, like, as far as quality artwork is concerned, nailed it.
Add a narrative, like make the suggestion of some giant sea monster, like the tentacles just kind of hanging out. You know, you could really push this piece because it's so far already.
Yeah, absolutely.
But awesome job.
Yeah, gorgeous. All right, so next on our list is Ty Lee. And yes, this is a big 2 thumbs up painting right here.
And I got to give you props just for your way you could arrange it, all the pieces on the screen. We had so many entries this month. We had a few suggestions for this. At its face value, it's a very well, it's well done. There's a lot of finesse that's kind of you display here, but we have a few suggestions to really push it further. And the first one would be to put those pillar, the poles that she's tied to behind her. Right now, they're like 8-10 feet off the back. We need to see that they're as close as that rock on her left shoulder.
Yeah.
Up the contrast and darken up the shadows. That's the quickest solution to do that.
Yeah, basically matching the rocks here, right? And that'll show that it's in the foreground, because if you look at this value and this value, they're very close. And that gives off of strange, it's kind of messing with your sense of depth, when should all be part of the same section right here, right?
Yep.
Also expressiveness. One of the things that Tyler mentioned as well that I really liked was you can play with what's off camera. And he said you have a very good excuse to bring in an antagonist into this piece with the shadow, right? Because she's got the shadow, which is
the bottom half's already in shadow.
Yeah.
If you silhouette, she has that gorgeous plane of like that white area for that dress there, and that's the perfect opportunity to put the silhouette of like an arm or a guy's head with like a horn, something menacing that adds a subtle context of narrative.
Yeah. And he doesn't have to be on screen, but yet you do. Remember, your image doesn't end here. It ends way off. It's just that's where the camera stopped. So feel free to introduce things off screen into it.
And consequently, her pose her facial expression doesn't say that she's really in distress.
Yeah. Again, it's very neutral.
Very neutral, which is it's hard to break out of it. We all struggle with this, particularly me. It's getting away from those neutral expressions.
Well, painting a face in and of itself is a challenge, right? Just to make it look, give it a character. What you did is you captured a look
Mm-hmm.
nicely.
Very.
But what's missing is her. It's
Her
it's
participating in the scene.
Yeah. Is she strong or weak? Is she looking at him like scared, or is she looking at him like you don't scare me? You have to exaggerate that expression a little bit so you can immediately look at it and go, she's a badass. She's not scared, right? She's gonna pull out some little trick behind her back, and she already untied the rope.
Yeah, you got the basis here of a really awesome illustration, but awesome job.
Yeah,
Tylee.
quality right up there. Absolutely. All right, so yes. Now
this one. Why don't you start this one off?
Well, remember we pre-recorded. We did this once before, and now we're doing this a second time, and we both had exactly the same reaction to this, which was this is
instantaneously we did at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah, beautiful use of color, texture. It's very controlled and loose at the same time. It's very carefree. A very classical sense of composition, a very beautiful abstraction of the fabric to create this flow. There's a lot going on in this piece.
But
really professional. But
I feel really dirty looking at this for one reason.
You want me to say it too? Oh, put me in the hot seat. Her head is, if you look at actually her head in proportion to her body, that's a 5-year-old.
Maybe an 8. Maybe an 8-year-old on a good day.
Maybe an 8, maybe an 8-year-old, but because her head is so oversized, it's making her, the only thing that's telling us it's not an 8-year-old is she's got boobs, right? So this almost
and some little hips.
it's a little bit child pornography-ish kind of proportions, so if you scale that head down, you'll go, full-grown woman, right? So that's the only little detail you got to be careful with. But that's really, honestly, Tyler, I don't have a whole lot more I can say.
Yeah, the other thing we just mentioned was you have great subtle color variety in the background. It's very dark and neutral, but you have the oranges, the blues, the side.
Yeah.
But that shadow, that really dark shadow in the foreground, needs a little bit more life to it.
Yeah,
it's
you can add color
dark.
to shadow too. Yeah, like what you've done here. There's some nice breakups of color in the banister.
You have some easy fixes on this that'll go a long way.
Yeah, honestly, and it's an absolute gorgeous piece of artwork.
Awesome job, Austin. It's definitely one of your best.
Yeah.
Just don't make me feel so dirty next time I look at it.
Very, very bad. All right, now we're going. Now we're bringing action into the.
Yes, and we did like that about this piece.
Yeah.
The moment, the intensity, we can feel it in his face. Another good where we got the acting in the guy's face, but it's not quite sold as well with the female because that just doesn't stop with that. Anatomically, he works fine, all things considering, but she is off in several different areas.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to just sum it up, bullet point wise, just why?
Well, expression wise, she does definitely have the "he's my protector" or "we're a team and I'm not afraid because we will get you." But because you took such a deadpan, straight on view, you're giving yourself an extra challenge. She's engaging us, yet he's looking over there. So she's challenging. They're interacting with two different.
I think it'd be better if she was looking where he was looking. Right? Do you feel the same way?
They're both looking off together as a team, looking off in a certain direction. So,
that arm and torso length is the next thing.
Yes. Proportion-wise, if you look at the proportion, she's got a rather long torso, which is perfectly fine in and of itself. But then, little rules of thumb, for instance, where elbow generally lines up with the bottom of the rib cage, if you look, her elbow's actually all the way up here. She's got these exceptionally short arms, and she's also missing her pelvis. You went straight from waist, long waist, into butt, right? We're missing that mass around here as well, where we're getting her pelvis, right? Yeah, so be careful with the proportion things. And also, something I'm noticing now is the hand, okay? The way you've positioned the hand is if it's completely facing us, but realistically speaking, the hand doesn't completely bend. You don't hold a sword like that. You hold it as an extension. So what's happening with the fingers is they're not going sideways. They're holding up the hilt like that at an angle, right?
It's a good detail you notice. I didn't pick that up.
You can't. It's almost impossible to see because the hilt is the crossguard's hiding it, right?
That's a trick. Make a big enough crossguard to hide the anatomy of the face. That's my answer to things.
And dust and scratches. Just throw dust and smoke everywhere.
You got the fire flames. Those are good. Darken them up. Put the top of them in shadow. The top of her head is just bam, instant light on it. You can make things a little more subtle or more dramatic.
Yeah.
Put the top of their heads in shadow because it'll contrast the lightness of the background. Add a rim light behind them of a contrasting color, and you'll be good.
Oh, one last little quick detail. If you look at her hair, if we took her hair off, you'd realize that her face is at the bottom. Her eyes are down here at her nose, and this is all forehead. You'd want to move that eye line up.
It's very Dragon Ball-esque. I forget the name of the artist. He always does like the huge head.
Oh yeah? Okay, then never mind.
But I don't know if it was intentional or not. So
maybe. Well, it's definitely got that anime type of vibe to it. So
but awesome job though, dude.
Awesome. Now Joe Cowan, back with a vengeance.
This is another one we recommended a bit of a crop.
Yep.
Just because everything is so focused on the bottom section.
Yeah.
We want the characters and the guys, and then we can pull the bottom out just to extend it, just so we don't have that awkward type of proportion. But yeah, add a little of the bottom of that. But we love the use of color you have here. You're not afraid to express that.
Yeah.
And it shows when that's an amazing thing. But likewise, if you want to take up some of that visual weight that's empty on the top, put like a chandelier or something. Not easy stuff to draw or paint, but it would look fantastic in that scene. Yeah. Embrace the challenge. And the other thing we mentioned is getting the detail up in these snakes and that character. Again, we're talking about kind of like the standard issue fantasy illustration type of stuff.
If you were doing this for a fantasy illustration, which this very much is, the feedback you'd get was it's not.
It's a beautiful color sketch.
Been rendered enough, right? You haven't rendered.
Push it further. Yeah. Which usually at this level means get your references. Because you got the posing, you got the lighting scenario, but now you got to go in and get the references and compare this one-to-one with typical Magic card art or whatever, and you could see the level of detail and articulation in their characters, and it'll help you push yours to that.
Where need be, you might want to keep this looser, and add all of that tight detail around here because that's where your focus area is.
Yeah,
right?
That's fine.
And be careful here. You've got a tangent as well. Yep. Just always keep an eye out for tangents with the head and her body. You'd want to probably move this head down a little bit to leave a little bit more negative space around her because she's
a good challenging pose. I like the way you put the light on her, but let's fix that tangent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome job, though.
Awesome. All right, let's. You can do it. All right, next is. Lodula.
This is a very interesting piece. And, I don't know where to start with it, actually. Really awesome kind of conceptual idea and stuff. Not the clearest at first, because we were kind of going back and forth on what is actually the situation here. But and so a little clarity in that matter may go a long way.
Yeah. Imagination?
Is
texture? Energy? The whole kind of almost a bit of a surreal type of approach to it.
Very surreal.
This is detail and fantasy, okay? But in that detail, we have to find some kind of clarity somewhere so that we're not sitting there trying to figure out what we're looking at. Like, it wasn't immediately evident that we had the woman over here. And then we kind of start to figure out that her hands were bound by chains.
And then, we talk, we can get a little more... naturalistic with that pose, so she's not perfectly stiff going up the center. That she's yanking on it. She's chained over to the side like tension, that. Give her hell.
Oh yes, and don't forget about a straight. If you want to create a sense of tension, if my arm is even slightly bent, it's relaxed. If I want to create a sense of tension, straighten that line. Try to get a nice straight line to show that she's really being pulled. This is her arms. She's kind of like this, where you want her to be like that. Right, get those straight lines, straight chains, straight arms, one straight line all the way through, and you're gonna show that she's actually bound and resisting a little bit, right?
We like how adventurous you are with the color, but it's just a little bit too much. What's high contrast is very high contrast, like you almost have pure white, but the intensity of the color at the same time is also equally as powerful.
Yeah.
Where you want to this may or may not have a Frank Frazetta influence, but just look back again. It's playing with those where there's really high areas of intensity, intense colors. You should have areas of rest, visually for the eye, and usually you can do that, but with neutral. So learning how to desaturate colors properly, is what would be key to making this more successful here.
Yeah, and those saturations will throw your eye where you want it to. Like you'll want to look.
Because right now it's just like all super big impact all over the the screen. This is light. This quadrant's light. All the bottom is bright. We got a little more control there. Would be really good.
But imagination,
awesome
rendering,
job.
Really, whatever we say. By the way, Kay, take into account. Do not lose your style, because that style is extremely unique and very engaging. Absolutely. Robert Garcia. All right. Go for it.
This one's really cool. We have a few suggestions, though. I believe it was the value structure is the main issue with this. And that also kind of ties in with composition. We have this figure here, this girl, expression, anatomy, all this stuff aside. But if we just value group this, she is white. She is white. This part's like kind of all medium, and then it's dark, and then white again. That's basically the structure of this, where you want a little more play with that, where we can direct the eye. Because I look at her as the first thing, right? Do you look at her for the girl, the main girl on the right? I don't know if we want to, if we should, if we look at the heroine or hero that's down, that's wounded. I want to be clear where you want me to look first.
Yeah.
And do you do that with value structure? I cover that in the very first episode of Brush Sauce Theater.
Yeah.
So I would rewatch that, get some ideas on how you can group them. Like if she could be all kind of dark or in the shadow, or if she's all light, then it just, you get a little too starky white with it. You know what I mean? It's just, there's no subtle color variety in it, even if she is the brightest thing on the screen. Mm-hmm.
And something Tyler mentioned as well was the first time we recorded it is group your values. Light, medium, dark, and group them. But if you look, we got white, 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 white. You don't know where to look, right? If you group them together, it makes it actually easier on the eyes, more readable. It helps you control where you want to direct attention.
It'll achieve depth too, and more cinematic lighting scenarios as well.
Yeah.
It's really hard to master or even practice, but definitely play with the idea. Look at Howard Pyle's work, or N.C. Wyatt's, like classical illustrators, and desaturate them in Photoshop. And you can see how there's huge clumps of dark and white, and how pure or how dark they actually are. Yeah. Just study them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and funny enough, the simpler approach gives you better results. Mm-hmm. If this looked like you had a very hard time balancing everything, and that's probably because you were speckling high and low value all over the piece. You got to control that a little bit more.
Yep.
All right.
But really awesome idea, and I do like the narrative in it.
She's kind of the only one who's kind of making her the strong one standing. Damsel in distress. I guess he's the damsel, right? I like that. Bit of a feminist statement there that I respect. All right, next.
Same thing for you, Addy. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong.
Addy.
Don't be offended. But same thing. We need to make a value structure for this. So because you have a lot going on that we really do like, the kind of classical fantasy aesthetics of this, the texture, but at the same time, it's just we need to group things so the readability at it has a big impact. Adam, if you make that really small at thumbnail size, right, we lose sight of what is actually going on. We want a painting to have an instant read. We want to know what this is looking at it at a thumbnail. Because if someone's looking to hire you and they're on Google and your artwork is shown with everybody else's, just like it is on the screen here with the contest, the ones that your eyes gravitate towards first are the ones that have the strongest value structures.
Right.
In readability, obviously. But yeah, that's what this needs. Because we got, at this stage, if we squint at it, we're looking at that white, and what is that? Everything gets lost in the bottom portion of it, right?
If you look here, and a lot of it is, and this is funny, I mentioned this last time too, I found out recently where darken got his name. He used to darken things too much, right? And I thought it was something more poetic. No, I chose darken because I like darkening things. What can I tell you? It's nothing complicated. But that's the thing, because you have this overuse of black, kind of like here the opposite, white. You're going too extreme with their values. You're losing control of your values and depth, right? Furthermore, you're losing sight of the elements in the scene that you want to pop. So if this guy's black shadow against a black background, all we see from a distance is a line, We lose the figure, right? So you want to be able to get you want these silhouettes to really pop out.
Yeah, on that note, the anatomy is a little wonky on the knight, but reference the armor. Do what John Howe would do, and dress up. It's harder for a lot of us to dress up in a suit of armor and go take photo shoots. But go to Google, go to Pinterest, and abuse them.
Yeah.
Watch movies. Take movie stills. Lord of the Rings. Get your armor reference.
Absolutely. And as John Howe says, if you don't use reference, it'll never ring true. And after John Howe's finished a painting, he said he mentions he's got a library of reference for a single painting. So he references everything he sees in a piece. And that's the way it's done. That's professional standard work works that way.
It's standard procedure.
Yeah. All right. So what do we got next? Guy in the 919. What area?
Wait, you want to get that one underneath it first, since it's kind of on the same level?
Sure. The one
Sorry, guy in the 919. You got revoked for the red one. Just I'm like leveling it off on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, of course, yes. Sorry, my bad.
And
all right.
we both love this comp, and don't mind if I speak for you, Adam, but we do love this composition, the narrative, the use of color. Very well thought out and very clever, and I love what you did here. That low angle, and the figures are just great.
Yeah,
like you could tell this person, Patrick, used reference.
Yeah.
You had a few suggestions though.
Yeah, well, just to further on complimenting this piece of artwork, it's also an excellent acting. She's a badass. You see it. She's surrounded by these soldiers. You can tell, if you look closely, you can tell that she's already assassinated one of them. You can tell that she's been shackled because the reuse of the design and his magic and her shackles over here. Just successfully done, and just her whole kind of laid back hair over the face is really good acting. I love it.
Yeah.
My suggestion was, it didn't occur to us until a little bit later that she'd already killed one guy. That's the whole story. She's killed one, and this guy's coming up, and she's going to get them all. That's just what's going to happen because she's such a badass. But this guy's dead, so you need something to draw the attention. Maybe redder blood, have a little bit more saturation.
And I just got a new idea. Take that stairway that's on the right side, right next to his hand. If you put that in shadow, like there's a cast shadow of it. Yeah. It'll pop that area where the guy is out in light. So he'll be surrounded by the figure, and then the stairway that will also be in shadow, opening up to light where she is, like you have it. Yeah. But it will frame him and help us check him out a little bit more, since he's a key part of that narrative.
Yeah. And watch out with your values too, because if you notice here,
the value lost.
Yeah. Well, he's as muted as these buildings way off in the distance, which loses him in that piece. And what you want to do is probably boost up the contrast on him, but keep this background as you see it, right? You can keep that knocked back, but this you want him to definitely come forward because it's a little bit too pushed.
If I might also, if this is like some kind of magic bangled and shackles and stuff, make that a little bit more clear. Add a little more saturation and intensity in those rings, maybe little glimmers kind of sparking off, something like that to really secure that it's a magic binding on there. At least that's what
not
we
just
interpret
metal. Yeah, it looks very metallic the way we're seeing it here. Yeah.
But awesome job, Patrick.
Beautiful, man. Yeah.
All right, guy in the 919.
919. Yeah, I'm gonna have to Google that one. I'm not sure what area code that is.
Some reference. Our basic suggestion is, whatever your story is behind this, and you ran out of time, whatever. But we're trying to take this composition very seriously, as many of the other entries did. So if you're gonna submit something, make it your best attempt at a finished piece. This just looks like you clearly didn't put the time in. It's more of a value sketch,
right?
First pass at something. So with that, it's hard to talk about it at that level because it just looks like it was an idea rather than a painting.
Yeah, it's definitely not finished. But just in terms of what you have submitted, just compositionally speaking, it is a very original angle. I like the looking down at her. But just be careful with tangents here. If you want her silhouette to be readable, so you might want to move this head out of the way or move her up so that it's creating some space.
They're touching at a very awkward place.
Yeah, and that, as you can see, it kind of plays with your sense of depth. It flattens things a little bit, so you want to create some separation or overlap. You can overlap or separate, but in this particular case, you want to separate because you don't want to hide her face, right? She's the subject.
Yep.
And things like fingers, details like that, just overall refinement, just to give its good start. This is a studio sketch. Now take it to the next level. You
All
use
right.
this, you build on it. Okay?
We'll hope to see you next time, guy in the 919.
Absolutely. And we'll, if you're, depending on where you're from, from Estonia, we'll call you, hey, it's Estonia. We'll know who you are. So there you go. All right. So I guess we can start. Mr. Stakbarts. Now I know how long and hard he worked on this bad boy.
We've seen this in many stages.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it works. It shows, dude. You totally put your time in, and this is definitely a benchmark piece for you, hands down. Definitely your best, probably it. We love
time and detail and effort and composition, the nice eye flow that travels through the piece, beautifully done. Nice use of values. Are in most cases the characters are all readable.
And they're well acted, and everything looks referenced.
Yeah.
Now, artistically, we can give you a few suggestions to just improve the general sense of that. The first one I think would be maybe the changing the shapes, these shadows in the foreground. Yeah, they're nice leading lines to kind of get us to this creature, but at the same time, they're also like we can see that the light's behind them off camera, but the shape of them in general is just kind of really awkward because it's like, what are these things exactly? Yeah. Maybe even removing one of the lines by placing it all in shadow there. That way, it'll help that line with the girl. It'll cross her more directly instead of having an extra one. That's my first idea, or maybe just changing the shape so they read like a market stall or a tent, and you can see little things hanging. It'll make the scene feel a little bit more natural spatially.
Yeah. But what you are doing is you are bringing things off screen into the piece to build the narrative,
which is good.
Very clever. Yeah, very clever. And the other thing is, just logically speaking, light wouldn't do that. Because if the light's coming from here and we've got building, it's going to be hitting different angles of each building, right? You're not going to get this perfect rectangular silhouette of each one. And that also, it made it redundant in both what Tyler and I felt was, it was a bit redundant at the same time, because it was so, the way it was laid out, and because of the pattern, my first impression was it wasn't actually light, it was street paint. Yellow paint on the ground that had been painted in that particular pattern.
Yeah, I can see it being interpreted as that now that you said that.
Yeah, that's how I saw it at first. And the other thing, if this is light, if you have this warm kind of golden witcher light,
the temperature.
Is that you want that to be consistent everywhere. So it would warm up this, it would warm up this, it would warm up her skin tone, but you've got neutral, cool tones to light here, but then this very warm light there. So that's why I misinterpreted it. There wasn't that consistency throughout, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the last little thing is a slight tangent with that. The guy's position right above the tail. Move him to the left or the right, just slightly, and that'll help it a lot.
Yeah. So it's from a distance that could be a bit of an eye confusion. It looks like he's got fur at the end of his tail or something.
Really awesome job.
Oh, beautiful. A ridiculously ambitious artist, and I might remind everybody that he hasn't even been painting a year yet, So that's something, man. That's really something. All right, so next,
this is a really fun and exciting piece. You're direct up in the action, which we recommended to a few other people here, and this is that moment, that tension.
Yeah.
And beautiful use of atmospheric lighting or ambient lighting on the characters to light them with all those kind of cool tones where we have the warmness, the intensity of the explosions and stuff.
Yeah.
Really good. We have a few suggestions.
Go for it.
The first one would be to kind of tone or maybe turn down the fire just a tad. It just looks a little bit too copy and paste with photo elements. Maybe make them more direct, more intentional. Maybe fudge in a few brushstrokes even too, like you did with the fireball there. I can see that, and I love that there. Mm-hmm. I just don't see it at that ground fire. Also, have a few more of them searing in the overhead in the background. Mm-hmm. Just so there's just not that one against that shield. Yeah. It's a little, maybe show the impact that they're in a hail of fire. Some sorcerer is casting the meteor spell on them, and they're in the shit.
Yeah.
I'll leave it to you as usual to kind of tackle the anatomical things.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Because we do have a few of them, but that girl's face, I do like the awesome and subtle job you did with that, and that's a super challenging angle
Oh,
to
yeah.
hit. Like that is one hell of an angle, and you did that awesome. But it's the
Yeah.
other things that.
Yeah. Well, if you look at it, if you actually, I could tell that when you were painting it, and this is very common, especially when you're tackling something that you're really challenging yourself with a difficult pose, is that your brain kind of compartmentalizes each part that you're painting, and you lose sight of the whole picture. And although at first glance you don't notice it, what you end up realizing is that this arm, whose arm is that? That's her arm, right? But you can realize that if her shoulders are up here, there's no way in hell her arm, her elbow would basically, that means her
Her
arm
elbow would be at the
all the
peak
way down
of
to her
her
waist, right? So that arm is way too long. That elbow should probably be up here, right? And the arm would be draped across here. But then you realize what that does is it extends into the whole body and creates this almost like liquefied torso here.
Yeah.
It's stretched out like toffee. Also, this section, like the legs and the upper body, there's this disconnect between the two. What's going on here is messed up. And secondly, look up the anatomy reference, look up pictures and stuff like that, because you can see certain things with the arms and the muscles. There's muscles and bumps and stuff like that don't actually belong on the human body anatomically. So it's just stuff to look out for. Reference that kind of stuff, right? Tyler also mentioned something about the guy's arms.
Yeah.
Where if you look, he's got this massive, beautifully rendered armored body, and he's got these little dainty T-Rex arms, Again, if you look at it in proportion with everything else, those arms are like he's got these little arms that are this long, right? Mm-hmm. And that really contrasts to the overall massive feel you give to this character, right?
But awesome job though, and really, I can see you really challenge yourself with it, especially with the rendering.
And the level of polish and cleanliness in this is definitely
awesome.
That's professional quality right there for sure. All right, now we have.
Start us off on this one. I gotta take my dog out over here. Just
he's
nagging me for that snack.
Your little kid needs daddy's attention. All right. This is what we both agreed on when we were looking at this, and that was, it's got grit, it's got movement, the brushstrokes are loose, the colors are loose. This is a very, very confident painting. It's really, really beautiful, and the narrative has a bit of a classical-ish kind of, it almost feels like a bit of a samurai lore type of feel to it, in the character with his mask. But what we were both feeling, what we were both experiencing in this is her pose in particular. The first thing was her pose in particular. She's supposed to be, is she running? Is she dancing? The body, that's actually, in terms of movement, that's not how the body would move, right? If somebody's running, you'd have one foot off the ground, or she'd be landing with the other, or something like that. But here it almost suggesting that
it's a dance.
She's in a dance, right? Ha ha ha, right? And this guy's floating towards her.
Yeah,
the body language is, the body poses are a bit off, right?
But really awesome use of, like, the colors are really kind of nice, and they're harmonized.
Yeah.
Value-wise, you could do more to push certain things. We like the subtle use in the background and everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like he said, there's a disconnect with the narrative and the posing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it's trying to tell me. And then, I don't know, it could be the quality of this image that we kind of enlarged here, but also, watch your edges too.
Yeah.
Make them, you probably want them a little bit more of what we just looked at in the last image.
Yeah.
That's a really kind of, where things are crisp, they're crisp. Where they're not, they're a little more loose.
Yeah. And it's that functions like your eyes, right? When you're focused on something, it's sharp. When you move it out of into your peripheral, it blurs. So you're playing with that whole element to help draw attention to the right spots.
And lastly, they have these two characters kind of almost like an equal proportion on the screen, side by side. Yes. And balance is good, but this is like a static balance.
Yeah.
You want to play with different shapes and arrange them so there's a balance of interest.
Yeah. Like if she's actually standing straight, if her legs weren't like that, and if he was standing straight, they'd be pretty much the same height. By creating a bit of a contrast, you can make him feel more imposing, more the damsel in distress type of situation, right? Reference. It needs reference for the body poses, definitely. Yeah.
But awesome job, Mofko.
Yeah, and the most painterly of all, and I have a soft spot in my heart for
it has some really beautiful aesthetics. Don't lose that.
Yeah. Now here we go. Sanjay Charlton.
I'm a huge fan of this piece, by the way, Sanjay. This is awesome. I think my first suggestion would be to crop a little up the left, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's bring it. You just have a little bit too much dead space over there, just like the game. But you have beautiful rendering, and awesome idea, awesome use of textures. You can tell you referenced. But I think Adam and I both lost a little bit with, is this underwater or is it not? Like, I think you interpreted it as being underwater
I did,
first. And then I kind of had to take a second look to say, well, she has wings, and, well, I don't know. Like, there is some mountains, and those could be clouds. So I clarify that with the use of your color choices.
Color, and also what's happening in the atmosphere. If you put little like bubbles or something, some kind of floating particles, that will immediately sell, we're underwater, or not, right? But the color definitely has that green murky color to it, which I personally love. Color-wise, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Also, the way the light shines through. This is the way light would generally shine through water. That's how it feels to me. This definitely feels like an underwater piece to me.
But this is awesome, and definitely, like, you have the quality and the detail there.
Oh God,
where it's important in the characters.
Look at that. I mean, I'd love to see the higher res version of it, but look at oh my God, the nice twist of the body with the armor on these little lizard creatures. Oh, to die for. That's gorgeous. Yeah, and look, even when you crop it in, you see what happens as well is it pulls your eye around the canvas, right?
Yeah.
So it composes that. This kind of pulls your eye out.
I know, and I understand the point in the situation for having the foreground element, but those are just coming off as, for me personally, they're a little too static, and there's a slight disconnect because I don't see any other kind of indication of caves, and maybe I don't know. There's just a slight disconnect for me personally with them, with the choice of that.
Try to repeat that somewhere else.
Somewhere.
You can have little jagged rocky peaks back here to repeat that pattern to make it.
And it's just like they're kind of just touching the edge of him.
Yeah.
Like a little too much. Like, is he supposed to be? Are we in this cave? Is the viewer looking at him? Is he outside of it? There's just those little things.
Yeah, just a little more consideration, but.
Amazing
little
job.
Tweaks that this is the kind of stuff that if you're working in a studio that your colleagues are going to be hounding you about. Yeah, fix those. Kind of what the feedback we're giving you is very common stuff you see in any kind of professional setting, right?
This is really cool, Kobe. I like this. We both like this.
Yeah.
It very painterly, very expressive, and really nice use of your color saturation and intensity. Pardon me. I think we suggested removing these triangle spires. Right? They're not adding anything to the piece, and crop it in.
Yes,
that's what you said last time.
Exactly what we just did with Sanjay's piece. Is you have this extra space out there. The eye's thinking it's got to be there for a reason. So if we knock it back and bring it in, now we're centering ourselves more into what's happening here. She's the focal point. By throwing it here, we're kind of throwing the eye off the side of the page. And is there a reason for it? Right? We have to be able to justify that. So something like that would definitely pull our attention more into the piece, right? The other thing I think I remember you mentioning was be careful with your values as well, because if you see here, we've got a high value here, and I can see by the way you've cast these shadows that she's the light source, and she's the light shining through them, creating these this beautiful pattern of light traveling around in a circle through the piece. But then this high value fog you've got back there might be silhouetting the characters, but so much to the point that it's muting the impact of her being
don't be afraid to darken that background more.
Yeah, absolutely.
It always doesn't have to be lighter to show an atmospheric perspective. I'd go a little darker down there. And
so go ahead.
Oh, my personal recommendation for this type of thing, I think it'd have more of an impact, because as a viewer, we're looking at this as like a standby, like a fly on the wall type situation, where if we were more of a participating member in this little circle, I think the impact of it as a whole would be a lot better. I mean, it's a lot more work to fix that type of thing at this stage, but what you want to do is basically lower the horizon, so we're looking more kind of like, level with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a little work to fix, but I think in this case it'd be worth it.
You know what else you could do? You just actually sparked a thought as well, is the angle you've taken, the perspective. The horizon line is her, so that definitely does attract attention to her, but narratively speaking, it might be detracting from her actual power. So if you lowered it down below, so you have some of these, you're looking actually waist height with some of these guys, you'll be forced to look up at her, which makes her feel more like this conjuring, right?
Yep.
This.
It just again, it make it a little less static.
Yeah.
But awesome idea, and you have a beautiful touch, with your aesthetics and your
The minimalist. Yes, we both love that. Is the minimalist, clean, no bullshit approach. You really nailed it. Yeah.
Start us off with Hans.
Hans Krill, the bastard can paint, huh?
Yeah, you can really paint. This is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I get the honors of starting on this.
You do.
All right. This is awesome.
2 thumbs up.
Narrative is awesome. Tyler's completely in love with her bubblegum hair. And the green, which is very Scooby-Doo, which I love. I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan, The zombies, you got the body language.
Very stylized, and rightly so, because you're still keeping all your roots in reality. Your attention to lighting detail, all that stuff is all grounded in reality, and that's what makes it so good.
Yeah.
And it shows that you had a lot of fun with this, too.
Oh, yeah. It's fun to watch when it's fun to paint. Have fun with the story, this gooey lava. Not to mean that everybody needs to paint the same type of elements in the scene, but have fun. Throw shit in. Mess it up. Shake it up. Have fun with it. That story leaks into it,
And we've seen that too when some of you just throw shit in. But if you're gonna throw shit in like he did here, just paint it well and apply all the rules of kind of reality or real life.
Yeah.
And reference whatever you throw in, and you can make anything work.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to.
Yeah. I remember one of the things, you're mentioning the guy in the background.
We both recommended a slight adjustment with the contrast and that level of fog you have in the background and everything. Right. We want to make him pop so he reads a little bit closer and our eye is drawn to him better. So, take away a little mist around, the base of him and maybe up by the head and stuff.
Yeah, a little glint off, like the moonlight glinting off of his sword, contrast to him, because he is the savior. Right? Mm-hmm. She's the damsel in distress with the bubblegum here, and he's the savior coming to save him. So you want to definitely make him a strong focal point in this piece.
But this is definitely executed very well, and a lot of professionalism here.
Yes. A+++++. All right.
And John, we have you next, and I said this is definitely one of your best paintings, if not the best you've ever done, and it has a lot of character, again, in it. And we you got MacGuffins and, the magic... The magic shop there. It shows that you had a good time with this, and it looks like you learned a lot. Your attention to detail, to the light reflecting in that glass room up there, the smoke, the sparks, the texture of the monster skin.
Yeah.
You did a really good job.
Yeah.
Likewise, I think it's a little bit too monochromatic. Like, I think you could push that a little further. Get a little bit more color variety, and particularly the character in the front needs to be a little bit better detailed. I had said he's very kind of Leon Kennedy and from Resident Evil 4 in this one with that coat and that hair, which is fine and stuff, but he's so close to us, and the focal point's so well detailed as it should, but he also needs that level of care.
Yeah.
And maybe cool down that background somehow, just take a little that fire, bring it down just a bit, add smoke, but the intensity over here, nothing important is happening over there. That's just the background, right? In this upper right area. We need to tone that down so we're focusing more on here.
Yeah, so I will be drawn to it. The other thing I want to mention about the character as well, just to give you an idea on how you can enhance that character, because he's so close, because he takes up so much real estate, we need some food, we need some eye candy there. And if you compare films like Indiana Jones, Van Helsing, any character that, those type of characters that are easily distinguishable and have a strong sense of character is their silhouette, right? You want to give him a very distinguishable silhouette. His silhouette is very neutral. That's what you would give a secondary character off in the background that's less important. You want to give him a silhouette that makes him, a hero, makes him distinguishable. He's there to save the girl, right?
Oh, the last thing you had mentioned was that girl's pose, the angle.
Yes. Yeah.
Is she reaching out to this character or the guy off that we see out of camera?
Somebody here,
because it doesn't look like her arm or even her face is reaching out to him. It'd be much more, over to here, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. She's reaching to nobody. I think she's been knocked in the head too many times, and she's seeing mirages here. Yeah, but definitely you want to lean it towards this guy to show that connection between damsel and hero, right?
But awesome job, and please go back and finish it. It's one of your best.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely a portfolio piece here. Let me see. Frederick Schuyler.
All right.
Or Schleier. Frederick Schleyer.
This one, we love your aesthetics and your illustrative qualities to it, first of all. And you actually do have some nice use of color in it as well.
Yeah.
But we're not exactly quite sure what is going to be happening in this.
Yeah.
There's a lack of clarity in with the girl, the way she's posed. Is she in a pit? Is she out of the pit? Is she getting tossed into the pit from him? Is he trying to get her? Like, what is exactly happening here? Because her pose is not only like a little weird for that, because the way the hand is over the foreground, so it's clearly out. So she's like hovering over it basically. But is that hair of hers? Is that going out and off to the side? Is it flying because she's like getting tossed down? But that chain is also not tight. So there's a lot of slack in it. So she's not. It's clearly she's not swinging. Just a lot of little things.
Is she swinging? If he threw her, it would make sense to have that whip. If he just took her and tossed her, and because his hand's out, that might mean that. But because it's hard to tell, because this hand is creating a tangent with the rim, it looks like he's resting it on the rim of the thing. The placement of the hands and the placement of the characters makes it for a very confusing piece. Yet almost has a bit of a surreal, abstract type of approach. You know, if we saw other paintings by you where those made sense, we'd go, "Hey, this is very expressive, very original piece of artwork." But it's difficult to gauge because we don't have anything to reference this by. Right?
Your highest point of contrast is somewhere completely irrelevant, like up in that very top little. Right, you have black and like near white, like there, like that should only be used on your most important
right around here,
focal point in the scene. Yep. You want that contrast on them.
Yeah.
And likewise, I guess that's the best advice I can give you at this point. I mean, you have there's a bird on a stump in the background, and I'm not sure what his story is, but you actually got me curious about it now. We didn't talk about him last time, but he was on my mind.
You know what the bird is? You know what the bird is? The bird's just giving zero fucks.
Like, is he a sidekick to the troll, or does he carry out? I don't know. I'm wondering about him though.
I like him. I don't give a shit. He's just sitting there going,
"What's up?"
Screw her. You know what? I got my. I'm just posing for the camera. That's
he's saying I'm waiting until you're done with her, and then I get the leave-ins, the sloppy seconds. The bird.
Oh my god. So that you see. But, Tyler, I'm sure you can agree with me, but the harmony colors in this?
It's harmonized. I said that first. You have a really good use of color here.
Yeah, there's a lot of beauty in
it's just the rest of the fundamentals need to be brought up to where your use of color, which that's the first thing people usually kind of mess up, but you kind of nailed it.
Where could you apply this in a professional setting? This could make for a great classical painting, fine art painting, but in a professional setting
of illustration,
it's
a little too confusing. Likewise, you have anatomy you need to revisit with the girl. Just reference that. I mean, that's a tough pose and situation. Downloading Daz 3D Studio Pose thing might be your best option for that, and then getting some photography on lighting and stuff.
Yeah,
but awesome job though.
Yeah, I really like it personally.
I can get on board with this image.
Yeah,
it's got character.
Yeah, and it's a very unique painting style and color aesthetic. There's something special. Yeah, for sure.
And I really like your idea here, and I like the action shot. And you better than some of these other ones. You did manage to group your values, in a readable way. At least Anyway, there's a couple suggestions I can give. Like you had mentioned last time, Adam, the background with that building. The contrast that in the sky, they're even. There'd be some difference or clarity with that, but it's good that they're the same value. But at the same time, we're also just because they're the same color as well.
Yeah.
We just lose a little bit too much in it.
Yeah.
And I think my suggestion was to put the girl in more shadow because she's in shadow, and I get that you want to bathe light on her to show her. But put the area behind her, like elbow and stuff, put that in shadow, and then put a lot of her in shadow, and put that elements of dappled lighting on her to illuminate soft. But this is something you should be very soft and delicate with. It's really hard to do, and don't mind me ranting or just speaking too much on this one. Marek Ocon had a piece like this the same setup. He had a danger thing in the background with a girl clutching a baby, your character's holding a rifle, and it's that intensity on the face and how frightened we can see her, and it is really what you want to be after in this one. So you want to take it from there if I left anything for you?
No. You're right. You're right on target. It's her face. You might have referenced the face. I don't know if you did or not, but if it was the reference or just that you didn't give it a chance, is the expression on her face has to lean one way or another. We have to know where she stands in this. Is she threatened, or is she a badass and she's not threatened? So if she's threatened, you want to see that panic in her body language in her face. You got to see that she's really like, holy shit, or you got to see that she's just kind of sitting there going, she's ready to take him out. She's the one who's going to save you, right? So it's getting right now, it looks like she's doing this.
Yeah, we've talked about this almost more than anything in this particular challenge. Is you need to put yourself in that character's position and act it out.
Get off your seat. Get up and act.
Make sound effects like I do. I make sound effects for everything that I'm drawing, and I get into there, you pose, get a mirror, put that right beside your computer, make faces in it, and it's the best way, and all the classical illustrators do it. Oh,
sure. Every walk of life, classical artists, fantasy artists, animation, of course in animation, you're always standing in front of a mirror in animation, that kind of thing, like get into the acting, get into character, and that's going to resonate.
And this is another one, too. This is at the level, of a color sketch.
Yeah.
If you want to take this, fix what we may have mentioned, get all your references in order, and then polish it, dump hours in, the best, get it up to that level, that new benchmark piece for you.
Yeah. First couple of hours planning, and then the next 3 days is just rendering. But you already have answered all the tough questions at that point. It's just detail at that point, right?
Mindless detail.
Absolutely.
Awesome job.
Yeah. And we got one more left.
That brings us to Miguel
Mitchell.
And we like a lot of things about this, Miguel. You've got some cool ideas here.
Yeah. We had a lot to say.
You have an awesome design. The way you lit that villain is very cinematic and awesome. This guy looks dashing and heroic and ambitious as ever. He's super enthusiastic. You have a good scene set up here. Great narrative. The way you silhouetted the girl. But at the same time, what happened with the colors?
Well, it's brave with color. I mean, it's funny. I mentioned this last time too. Like if you look at Frazetta's work, for instance, he's very bold with color: red, green, blue. But it's deliberate. It's not everywhere.
It's a little too washed.
Look closely. It's like too much of a performance. It's like, think about it. If we're sitting here, Tyler and I are doing the talk, and the whole time we're yelling at the top of our lungs the whole time. After about 5 minutes of that, you're gonna go, okay, I gotta turn this off. I can't take it. Same as thing is the opposite. If we spend the whole time whispering like this, Tyler, I think it's a great piece of work.
What did you say?
What? Then it's either not enough or too much.
Everything is balance in life, in art. It's all about that.
You want to have that impact with that color. Yet, your bravery and your liberal use of adding yellow here and adding blue there, that is powerful. But know where you want to have that hit and where you want to knock it back. It's about controlling it. If you lose control and you go too overall, it's overstimulating the eyes and people end up turning away. You want to keep people's attention.
One of my strongest recommendations for you to do is go to James Gurney's blog, gurneyjourney.com, I believe. Look up gamut mapping.
Yes.
And there's a website for that too. I don't have it at the top of my head right now, but it has a gamut mapping tool right on the website. Just type gamut mapping tool, you'll find it. It's by some artists he put up, but it'll tell you how to limit your palette and build values from it, and you get a good structure.
Yeah, absolutely. Gamut being GAMUT, by the way. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to mention here is also
the girl's anatomy. Yep.
Yeah, if you look, and this might be maybe a design in her shirt, or maybe it's her spine, I don't know, but we have the line of the spine coming up like this, and that spine comes off the top of her shoulder, right? That spine should be,
And her, there's like a lot of little anatomy things, like the proportions of her arms and her hands. That should be a little bit bigger. Proportion of the face. Like if I put my hand over my mouth, it goes across the whole width, and it's like well past my eyes. She got like a little tiny hand, and then.
Yeah.
Likewise, I don't know if she's like demonized or possessed already, or if she's a children of the corn, basically. Because look at it, she looks like that little strong hand over here. Yeah. It's like I don't know if it's been mutilated or something.
But there is acting in that hand. Remember,
there is. I like that hand, but
so the whole
reference it.
it brings anxiety into her pose. And furthermore, one of the big compliments I had for this as well was the demon and poking it. That's a very uncomfortable place to get poked, right? In the temple, it's a nerve ending, right? He's poking and he's holding on, so he's pulling her
And
back.
you have that notch in her head, the way it's tilted, very good.
There's a nice tension in that pose. There's a nice kind of you can feel the bully, the meanness in him, just in the way he's pushing into her and pulling her at the same time. It's a very abusive type of way of holding somebody, a very controlling way of holding. But reference that anatomy, look it up. Like it just basically the anatomy. There's if that's a shirt or is that her arm, hard to tell. But we see some wiggles that could be fabric, but
see that comes off as fabric, whereas a normal skin in a sense would be much more smooth, delicate.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I'm saying. Was she mutilated already? You just got like that gross skin.
Yeah, that kind of.
But
thing.
Awesome job, Miguel. I really like it. Great composition and stuff. It's bringing things back down to balance with a sense of control
and confidence. A lot of confidence in there with color. I love.
Do you want to bring up our favorite 3 pieces, Adam? Do you remember what they are?
I do remember. We'll do one at a time.
You pick your favorite. Blow them all up, and we'll give them a minute to vote on whose favorite was what.
Okay. So, okay. I'm good. No, you know what? Let's switch it up since we're doing our second shot. I'm gonna pick your favorite, and you're gonna pick mine. I want to see if you actually care to remember about my opinion. Am I right?
He's putting me on the spot on a test.
Yeah, so this was Tyler's favorite for obvious reasons. It's frickin' masterpiece.
Yes, I love it. And I picked this one solely because this is the idea I wish I had. I wish I had this piece to work and put in my portfolio. Your execution and idea and the acting and the creature design, I love it.
Yeah, really beautiful. Now, which one did I pick, Tyler?
Hans.
Huh?
Hans.
Oh, yes. Yeah, bubblegum hair here. Yeah. Absolutely.
And for good reason.
And for good reason. If we could be redundant here for a moment. Yes, I mean, okay, this is my critique. Holy shit. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful piece. I love the subject, too. It's right up my alley. It's got this kind of playful, Scooby-Doo-ish kind of haunted gothic feel. I just love it. I love the character posing. I love Damsel in Distress. I love the guy running up, the gooey greens, and just fun, man. A lot of fun. I just really enjoyed this piece.
We both love it. It's great. And we have a third one, which is just like our mutual agreed upon
runner-up. Yeah.
An honorable mention.
Honorable mention. A big honorable mention, too.
Jessica Lee. We love this.
Lee. Yeah.
Just zoom in on that detail of that head again one more time for us.
Okay, let me full screen this bad boy here. Look at this. Unfortunately, it's low res, but look at that. The pearl beads around here. The silk fabric.
That's some of that detail I wanted to see in some of these other ideas. Because the ideas were there, but the attention to detail was not in places that I would love to see it.
And we were nerding out over this wheat.
Yeah, it's like, who the hell can paint wheat that good? That is really good wheat, by the way.
Yeah, Jessica must live in a wheat farm. That's the only explanation.
If you used a photograph, you're damn good at hiding it, because that just looks like awesome wheat.
Yeah. The comment we both felt was, it's your harmony between that kind of desaturated yellow and the deep teal you have in the background is just lovely. It's very cinematic, teal and orange or teal and yellow. But a little, and I mean little, it's a very small tweak, was bring in some of the flesh tone. This is an undead, desaturated with her. I'm assuming she's alive.
Bring a little punch of color in throughout her. Like, her dress is the same color as that robe, right? It's the same. Yeah. Give a little things to make this pop. A little variety. You'll be really good to go.
Yeah, just bring out some warm skin tone, a nice red in the ear, and that will balance the entire piece. You'll have all of your cools and a little hit of red that's going to pull you to the little girl, and you're done. Because apart from that, man, magnifique. Like, wow.
And again, thank you everybody for entering. This has been an amazing challenge, and we can just see how many of you have grown from this one to the last one. You're really taking our feedback to heart, which means a lot to the both of us.
Yeah.
And I can't be more proud enough than to have this awesome body of work to look at and talk about all afternoon.
It's incredible. Oh, yes, and I want to throw this in as well. Both Tyler and I both have a mentorship, and we're open for registration. So give us a shout.
I'm booked till November at this point.
I just made adjustments so I can actually take in a few more students now, as many students as I have going on.
Just funnel everything to you.
Yeah, send them on. Hey, no problem here. But yeah, so if you're interested in that, just give us a shout. We'll leave a link in the description.
If you want to boost up your anatomy and your character skills, this is the guy to go to. If you want to wait a little bit of a line and practice epic environments and all the world building, I'm the shop to stop.
As my friend Ollie would say, he'd say, if you want to be better, if you want to be less bad, call me.
Thank you for watching, and do subscribe. I don't see us stopping doing this anytime soon. So, thanks a lot and take care.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, that went well.
Yeah, nice. How'd we do?